Okay, let's determine how we know how much to put in that allowance. As I said, there are two ways. There's sales and there's the aging of the accounts. Sales accounts, really very easy. The allowance account, you look at how a year's worth of sales and decide which method best suits what you want to do. Sometimes sales is very accurate, and other times people want to dig a little bit deeper and get a truer view of the accounts and how they're laid out, and they'd use the aging for that. As you'll see, the sales is very quick and easy, and the aging takes a little more calculation. So X-Tone's company credit sales for the period were $3 million, and they determined 0.75% will be uncollectible throughout the year. That's real easy. You just multiply 3 million times 0.75% and come up with 22,000, I guess. Let's see, this is a multiplication of 22,500 for this year, and they had a beginning balance of 32.5. Now, why do I add that to it? Because when you're doing the percent of sales, you're looking at a group of sales. So each year has its own amount. Such as the first year probably had 26,000. Of that 26,000, there was 3250 left. So that's still going to be uncollectible, more than likely. That's going to stay in the kitty, and they're going to add this year's sales to it. So you'll end up with a total of 25,750 in the allowance account to be written down throughout the year. And this is how it looks. Okay, we started right here. Remember, we had a balance of 30,000. We took out 26,750, and we had 3250 left in. So that's last year's sales. Now this year's sales is going to be 22,500. That's got to be added to this. So your bad debts gets hit for 22,500 for the year, and the allowance gets increased by 22,500. Very easy calculation. Not a lot of complex shuffling of numbers. Now, when you get to the analysis of receivables method or the aging method, it gets a little more complex. There are about 6 steps that you're going to do. You've got to figure out the due date of each account, number of days each account is past due. Each account is placed in an aging class, and then the totals of the aging classes are determined. You total those up and multiply it times the percentage you think are not going to be collectible, and then you determine how much each class is going to have uncollectible. So let's kind of look at this. So here you go. Okay, here's the balance, and this one's not past due yet. So you can see how they carry this out, and you'll come up with not past due, 125. There's a bunch of transactions in the middle here. So you'll lay this all out in columns. You'll come up with 125,000 that's not due yet, so 2% of those is probably going to be uncollectible. 1 to 30 days late, 5%. You'll notice these numbers go up as the times go, or the amount overdue goes out. So if you get clear up to 365 days overdue, you're pretty well saying 80% of those are probably going to be uncollectible. Probably is closer to 100%, but we'll go with the 80. So then you multiply these out, and as you can see, you'll have a total in each one, and you come up with a total of $26,490 that should be in your allowance account. So you'll do a bad debts. A bad debts entry here, and add that to your hold on, let's go back here. This says 26,490. Okay, I need to explain this. This, when you age accounts here, all of this right here, this also includes previous accounts that you have aged to come up with, let's see, here it is. This is better. You have 3,250 in there already. Of this amount, this 3,250, those accounts are also included in with this. So they're probably somewhere right in here, somehow, some way. So when you go to look at your allowance account now, you're saying, okay, I've analyzed it all over again. This amount is already included in there. I've come up with an adjusted balance of $26,490. This is what I need to have. How much is my bad debts expense? How much do I have to credit the bad debts or the allowance account to get to $26,90? So if I subtract $32.50 from the $26,490, I come up with $23,240. That becomes the bad debts expense. Does that make sense? Because you already have a credit balance of $32.50 in there. That was from last year. This is because you're looking at the accounts receivable in aggregate, and some of that has already been taken into consideration, and what hasn't been taken out that's still in the allowance account has to be subtracted from what needs to be in there. So with the sales method up here, you didn't have to do that because you were taking sales each year. So I didn't have sales in the previous year that could be concluded in this. In this one, I have already taken into consideration $3,200 of that. So difference in the two, the aging is much, takes a little more calculation, and it's probably more accurate because you're looking at groups of instead of a set amount. So you can see if that was a debit balance here. It would be just the opposite. That would mean we didn't take enough out of the aging last year, so now we're going to increase it. And then my entry, it's not going to show me an entry. The entry would show the bad debts actually being $28.59 rather than the $26.90, because you've got to take that into consideration. It's a debit account, and you want to get this whole thing to $26,490, and the only way you can do that is by increasing your bad debts expense for this year. And finally, here's a comparison of the two. This is the percent of sales. Okay, this is already sitting in there, and you're just going to add to it, so you'll have an adjusted balance of $25,750. In this one, this $32.50 is included in the aging already of the next, the $23,340. So to get it to be $26,490, all right, this is already included, so you have to, the difference between the $32.50 and the $26,490 becomes your bad debts. I know that can be a little bit confusing, but once you do it in a problem, it will probably make a whole lot more sense. Just remember, percent of sales, you add to it whatever the balance is. For the aging or the analysis of receivables, you're going to make an adjusting entry. You're going to look and see, this is what the balance should be, what's in there, what kind of entry do I have to make that, what is already in there, agree with what the adjusted balance is supposed to be? Clear as mud, right? Alright, let's try it in class now.